People ask me all the while, and as I talked to Frank on the way down here, if you had 1,000 people, they wouldn't have the same experience. I don't like to be in cold weather and freeze to death, so I said I would still choose the Pacific area where I could die of heat exhaustion rather than freezing to death. But the situation with our enemy was much more difficult in the Pacific, and they basically, didn't want to surrender, and it was either kill or get killed. And the idea of being a prisoner of war was never came into the mind of any of our people.
Anyone else want to ask?
I think that the difference was primarily the climate and what they had to put up with in the Pacific. In some cases, they had probably more casualties from malaria and disease than they had from weapons, and this was one of the very difficult things that they had to put up with. The Japanese had an excellent army, but we were up against Hitler's crack troops. These were boys that had been in military training since they were 7 and 8 years of age. They were from the Hitler Youth Movement, and there was one thing that they knew, and they knew that Hitler would take care of them, and that's all they said when they were captured. They would not give any information to our interpreters, and they would merely say, "The Führer knows what's best. The Führer will take care of us." That they would, of course, say that in German, and they were excellent marksmen. They probably had some of the best gunnery in the world. They had the best gun in the 88, which was very flexible. They could fire that at one soldier, or they could knock out a tank, or they could knock out an airplane with that gun. Everything they had was excellent. And they had the same determination that the Japanese army had, but the disease and pestilence and some of that stuff, I know, was terrible in the Pacific.
Anyone want to add to that?
I'll tell you, in the Pacific, we took Atabrine for 3.5 years. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It was for malaria and dengue fever. And we found out some years later that it could cause sterility. And 10 years after I got out of service, we adopted 2 kids. And I don't know if that was the cause of that, but I'll tell you, in the South Pacific, when we first got there, we went into BIAC. The natives didn't wear any clothes. They were cannibals. They were looking for food constantly. And we started treating them like human beings. We'd give them candy, cookies, whatever we had. And they was going to bring some wax into our area to work in the office. So they issued T-shirts to all these natives to cover them up. Well, the ladies with their babies had holes cut for their breasts so they could feed the babies. And it was an exaggeration of everything. And I'll tell you, if it wouldn't be for the natives, I would not be here. I went down in a B-24 in New Guinea, and the natives saved our lives. And to this day, every morning we have our Bible study, and we thank the Lord for what they did for us.
I might comment on the Atabrine. In 1941, when we maneuvered in the South, the Second Army against the Third Army, we were in the South in Louisiana, down the swamps and so forth, and we took Atabrine. So I took Atabrine all summer. In fact, I started taking Atabrine at Fort Custer, Michigan. And the Second Army took Atabrine, and the Third Army took quinine. They were testing to see which one had the least number of casualties from malaria down south. And as I say, I took Atabrine all summer, and I wound up with 4 children.
There you go.